What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. We've got some exciting news to go over tonight. I'm sure you guys have seen it. The Card King is out, and there are two new commanders in the Card King, guys. Some of the OG OP, some of the first breaker commanders that we got in this game, Attila and Takeda. They are in the Card King. In this video, we are going to go over if it is worth it or not to invest the gems to start working on these commanders if you don't have them yet. For anybody new here, my name is Fet. I am talking about the mobile game Rise of Kingdoms, which is a mobile game that you can build up your account, join an alliance, and fight other players in events like Kingdom versus Kingdom, Ark of Osiris, and the new Champions of Olympia. If you guys haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All the support means a lot. I will be putting out all sorts of content about what I think about events like Card King. Let's get right into it. All right, guys, so this was big. It was kind of shocking to me. And since KVK, I really have been playing this game very relaxed. I haven't really spent as much time, obviously, as I dedicated during KVK. So my buddy texted me and said, dude, Attila Takeda, Card King. And I saw, my Discord blowing up and the Alliance chat going. To be honest, I really didn't even open Card King because I don't really have too much to do in here at this point that I really care about. But this was crazy to me. I mean, like, Attila Takeda was one of the first breaker pairs, right? They were the commanders that came out, and there really wasn't a way to defend against these guys in a rally setting specifically. We shortly learned thereafter they're also amazing in the field. They can sometimes garrison in crazy situations where you take a structure and you need to hold it down, especially in Ark of Osiris. These were the first two that really we were just like, what do we do to defend against Attila Takeda? Like, all we can do really is have another Attila Takeda.
A potential scandal with the Buffalo PD surfaced today when the mayor demanded that the chief of as a response to allegations. I'm sorry, I seem to have something stuck in my eye.
Somebody get him some water, please.
Yeah, it looks like my new co-anchor.
To fight against it with. The Constantine did okay. Wu did okay. But these were the first commanders that came out. We were like, Lilith, like, what do you want us to do against this rally? Like, it's extremely hard to defend against. We can't really swarm it. We just get wrecked. What do we do? So Card King, guys, if you're not familiar, you pick a commander and you come in and you can... I'm doing... Who was I doing? I was going to do Constantine just because. And so... You come in here and you can spend gems to turn these cards over, mix and match. You want to get matching cards to get a reward. So I've got one Constantine right there. Every card you turn over is 300 gems except for the first one that you do. So let me just see if I can look at that. Sometimes you get lucky and you get what you want. I really like that you can get universals from this as well. And if you guys have been doing Card King for a while and you weren't sure, you can always click this preview button down here and you can see what you're going to get in this round of Card King. So for somebody like me where I don't really want to work on any of these commanders, what I will do sometimes is I will just reset until I see the universals, and then I'll try to get the universals. If I get some additional stuff along the way, like some resources, some speed ups, maybe some of the Constantines, why not? I don't have him maxed. That's great, but sometimes I'll just speed through these and I will just go for the universals that come in here. Because if you do get lucky, it's actually a pretty good deal to get the universals. The other stuff, doesn't really matter to me, but that could be a good strategy for somebody that doesn't really have a use for Card King like me, and you still maybe want to go for 1 or 2 or 3 extra sculpts within Card King. So right, this one, because this is the first screen here, I have spent 3, 6, 9, 12, 1,500 gems. I got 1 universal and 1 Constantine. So normally in VIP shop, I would spend 2,000 gems for a universal sculpt. So I got a discount for that universal, and I also got a Constantine. So that's, that's one way to do it if you guys don't have a commander to work for. However, we're talking about these two right here, guys. And just flat out, I don't really need to get too fancy about this. We can take a look at some of their skills again real quick. But if you have these unlocked, if you put any sculpts into these guys, it's completely worth it. And what I want to say here is Takeda is actually useful for almost any other Cav commander. So what I would do here is definitely start with Takeda. If you want to invest in these two, start with Takeda. He is just so good, and he can be put behind almost any other Cav commander to really beef up that primary commander for you and really just make him super tanky, heal throughout the battle. Definitely helps with normal attack damage as well. Right, so enemy additional normal attack damage taken is just all normal damage taken is 50%. So that's huge when he pops that skill. You're just going to be doing all sorts of regular damage for 4 seconds. So it's really, really good for your commanders that do a good amount of attack, but you know, even if they do skill damage, like this is fine as well. But you would want to pair this with a commander that does really good normal damage, and that's why it pairs so well with Attila. The second skill here does attack bonus and march speed bonus. So, you know, it's pretty good. You know, the attack bonus is just attack. It's not attack damage. So it is what it is. But this really pairs well, obviously, with the first skill. So that's nice. This is the healing factor. So this heals for 4 seconds after you pop the active skill, 150 per. So this is really, really good just to tank up any Cav March that you have out there. This one reduces the amount of skill damage that you take when attacked to reduce all incoming normal attack damage as well. So again, guys, this is just tanking up any Cav commander that you have as a primary commander leading this guy. And then so they just take an additional, the expertise on this is 30% increased damage from normal attacks. So again, this goes perfectly with Attila, and they really are a match made in heaven because Attila is all about normal attack damage. No skill damage occurs with Attila at all. So that's why they go so well together, guys. But all this other stuff really just tanks up your primary commander. So is it worth it? I say Takeda for sure. And the math on this, guys, is a worst case scenario is you can spend about 36,000 gems, maybe a little bit less because your first one's always free, obviously. So you'd be just under 36,000 gems spent, and the amount of sculptures you can get from it is 30. So that takes you to around 1,200 per sculpture plus everything else you get along the way. So, right, keep that in mind, guys. It's not just the 30 sculptures you're getting. You're getting keys, you're getting speed ups, you're getting resources, you're getting some universals along the way, but you're just blunt cost of those 30 sculptures is 1,200, which again, if you were going to go into VIP, and if you were going to buy these outright from VIP, you'd be spending 2,000 gems per universal sculpture. Granted, right, it's universal, so you can use it on anybody, so its value is a little bit higher. But if you want to work on another Cav commander, Takeda is a good way to do it, and the Card King is a really good value to accomplish that goal. Now, Attila, guys, is more specific. He pretty much, I don't want to say has to be, but you like really, really want him with Takeda behind him. Everything about him is all about the normal attack damage. So normal attack damage bonus, counterattack damage bonus, enemy attack reduction. Strongholds or cities, you're going to do 5% damage, just a blunt 5% all damage bonus. And you're also going to reduce the defense by 25% as well. So this is for strongholds, right? This is why it's so good against a structure, whether it's a city or a structure like a flag, a pass. Of course, it really does depend on what garrison is in there. But he is just really all about the normal attack damage. Look at that. So skill damage taken reduction, that pairs perfectly with Takeda as well, right? And so they really are, like I said, guys, just a match made in heaven. But I would start with Takeda. He's 100% worth it. He can go behind pretty much anyone. He goes really well with Saladin. You know, if you put him with Saladin, that's a super tank Cav March right there. You can put him with Khan because Khan is super squishy, but he does a lot of damage. Mostly skill, but he does a lot of normal attack damage too. Nothing like Attila, but he does a bunch of damage. So for him to stay out on the field a lot longer is just great. Same thing with XY. You know, that wouldn't be my highest recommendation of what to do with Takeda, but your XY does a bunch of skill damage. And the more times he can do that skill damage because he's more tanky being with Takeda, great. Pair him up. That's awesome. And if you are free to play and you don't have some of these, you know, commanders that are newer and that were really big wheel commanders and stuff like that, you know, he's going to just tank up anything. He does go quite well with Moto. And the reason for that is because of, maybe it's that skill. So he does damage per second. That's skill damage. There was something about here that does normal attack damage. So just attack right there, which is good. Maybe it's not him. I could have swore he did some normal attack damage, though. That was good. But with Cao Cao, right, just really squishy. Moto and Cao Cao, really, really squishy. They do a bunch of damage. They just don't, they can't really stay out there that long because they just get wrecked. They get, well, one, they get targeted, right, because they're known as like squishy commanders. So Takeda's just going to help you with anything like that. Other cav options, William would be really, really good, guys. Let me do these verification rewards real quick. Gotta love verification rewards. They hit you at the worst times every time. Right, Chandra, that's another kind of pricey one, though. That would, you know, if you're thinking about Attila Takeda, I'm going to guess you don't have Chandra. But he does 40% increased damage for 3 seconds, right? So a Chandra Takeda is going to be really good too, because you're talking about 40% all damage increase right there. It's not specific to skill or to normal attack damage. So that's going to be really, really good also. And yeah, you want to pair him with somebody that is going to do, you know, a lot of normal attack damage. But guys, I mean, there's not a whole lot of options for cav commanders that just do normal attack damage, you know, other than Attila. And that's pretty much it that we're looking at for cav commanders, right? I've seen a lot of people use Khan Takeda. That's a really, really good one because Khan's just going to fire off those skills. And again, the more time he can stay out there and fire off those skills, the better. So Takeda's going to go really, really well with him. You know, Moto and CC couldn't find the normal damage on Moto, so I was mistaken on that. But again, they do a bunch of skill damage. So having them out there longer is better. XY, same deal. Chandra would actually be a really, really good pair. But again, if you are thinking about, you know, investing into Attila Takeda in Card King, I would imagine that you probably don't have Chandra either. So, you know, that may not be an option, but a Chandra Takeda would probably be a really, really good field march to fight with for sure. Not sure if it would be, you know, a really, really good rally. It might be, but he does a lot of skill damage. So in, you know, when I think it's this skill. Yeah, so the stacks right here are 500 times 4. So he does, you know, he does a lot of skill damage when that pops, which is great. But that 40% damage right there is going to stack really, really well with Takeda's 80% normal attack damage increase. So, you know, that could be a really, really good pair. But obviously the match made in heaven is Attila right here. But again, guys, I think this is awesome because these are kind of the commanders that you remember. It makes me feel kind of like an older long-term player at this point because when I first started the game, I was like, oh my God, this is how I can become, you know, significant in the game. I've been playing catch up in my account to all the people that, you know, I've been playing with. I've been a part of really big kingdoms for the whole time I've been playing. Really serious people. Everybody always had, you know, the dopest kind of gear, the greatest commanders, all that stuff. And when these two came out, I happened to be in a position where I could max them. And when I did, it made me, you know, more significant to my team. And I got to do more. I got to fight more. And guys, city rallies, if it's not garrisoned by a YSS or a Xeno YSS specifically, but YSS does a really good job too. So does Theo. But anything other than those three, this is going to thump when it hits a city. It is bananas how good Attila Takeda still is. It's still the premier city rally for non-Xeno YSS garrisons. And even, you know, even in normal fights, like Attila Takeda is still used. It's still used against, you know, like a Wu, Constantine. You probably could throw this against a Jadwiga and do okay. You know, it's still really, really useful, guys. And not only that, but he is a beast at fighting in the field. This pair right here, Attila Takeda, is the one that I use the most and get the absolute best reports with when I'm fighting in stuff like altars or ruins. Extremely important in KVK for ruins and altars because, one, he does a really, really good job when he's getting swarmed, right? So in those crazy kind of murder ball fights, you want to have a pair out there that can get swarmed and still give you a bunch of kill points and not take too many injureds, you know, when you go back. But a lot of times, guys, I would fill him up with T4 and I would just go put it by the enemy gate, go to sleep, wake up, and get some good kills out of it, right? Not expensive with T4, and he would do good because people would be like, oh, there's somebody with just one march out there, and who cares if it's Attila Takeda, we'll go swarm it. And they will, and they'll beat the, you know, they'll beat the shit out of it, but the report is still really good against Attila Takeda, even when he's swarmed by 4, 5, 6 marches, right? But if you're one of those people that has, you know, a decent setup of cav commanders, I would start with Takeda. He's going to be more immediately useful for you because he can go behind pretty much any other cav commander. Then, if you want to go the full mile, if you want to go for the match made in heaven, go for Attila next. In the meantime, you'll be able to use your Takeda as much as you want with any other cav commander that you have that makes good sense. And while you're building up Attila all the way, you know, you'll have something to do, and it won't be a complete waste and won't just be sitting there. Whereas if you go with Attila first, your Attila might be sitting there for quite some time. It doesn't really pair with anything else, you know, perfectly. It does well, you know, for anti-swarm and all that, but the fact that it, you know, Attila only does normal attack damage and all the other cav commanders do a lot of skill damage, it just doesn't really pair that well, right? So I would start with Takeda if you do want to invest in this, and then move on to Attila. Then when you're done, you'll have a really, really good, you know, kind of well-rounded march. It's great for city rallies. It's great for field fighting. It's great in Ark of Osiris. It does really, really well in Champions of Olympia also. It's just a really solid march. Now, it's not what it started as, right? It was the original Breaker march. It was the original Breaker rally leaders. Like, we didn't know what to do with these when they came out. And, you know, sometimes if you're garrisoning a structure or your city and all you have is a Charles YSG, Attila Takeda is just going to wreck you. It's just, there's nothing you can do about it. You got to bubble. You got to get out of there because Attila Takeda doesn't really matter, you know, how many troops you have or what commanders or what equipment are on your Charles YSG. It's going to get wrecked. You know, of course, a mega whale at 150 million, you're going to be okay. The report's going to be ugly, but you know, you're going to be okay, obviously. But if you're, you know, even like 80, 90 million power, even close to 100, and you just have a Charles YSG, best believe I'm going to send my Attila Takeda at you. So that's pretty much what I think about this. This is actually pretty cool. It does, you know, it makes it kind of weird because these were the commanders that were like really sought after when, you know, I was getting really serious into this game. And, you know, I was lucky to be able to invest in these early on, become a more significant player for my team. And now to see them in Card King with all these other ancient commanders, I mean, ancient commanders, right? It's pretty cool. So that is my recommendation, guys. Worth it. The value sits at 1,200 a sculpt plus everything else you get from the cards. It is going to run you about 36,000 gems per Card King round, though. And I believe we're getting Card King probably once every 3 to 4 weeks at this point. So that's going to run you about 36,000 gems a month. But it's a really, really good value for getting these commanders done if you want. That's pretty much all I have on this. Guys, drop a comment for what you think about these being in Card King now. Let me know if you feel like me, like where it's like weird to see these two original badass commanders here in Card King. If you had a similar kind of feeling and reaction that I did. And if you guys haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate the support once again, guys. Love sharing this content about what I think about these events. And we'll get another video to you guys soon. Have a good night.